Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Liz and this is A Catholic Mother's Journey. I'm really pleased you're joining me today. So today I felt like the Lord wanted me to speak on here about how accepting your cross brings breakthrough. So when we accept our crosses, that brings us breakthrough. So in the Gospels, Jesus tells us to deny ourselves, pick up our crosses and to follow him. We are all called to do this. So we all have crosses in our lives. We all experience suffering in our lives to greater or lesser degrees, some more than others perhaps. But we're all called to accept our crosses. Sometimes God allows bad things to happen. He allows suffering to happen. It doesn't mean that the bad thing we're experiencing actually came from him, originated with him, but he allows it to happen sometimes. And so we are to accept those crosses that come our way, because if he's allowing it to happen, it's in his will for us to go through these things. And if we're resisting that, if we're resisting our crosses, then we can come out of God's will. You know, we're resisting his will in our lives, even though it's hard. You know, our crosses can be very heavy, they can be uncomfortable, they can be a great burden. You know, we can suffer a lot, we can be tired, we can be weary, we can feel like we can't bear them. But when you think of Jesus and when he died on the cross and the salvation that brought, you know, our crosses also bring healing and they bring breakthrough and they bring great blessings. There's something heavy, there's something uncomfortable, there's something we don't want. You know, it's easy to look on sufferings and crosses in our lives as a curse, as something that we shouldn't have to put up with. But sometimes it is God's will that we go through these things and he allows these things to happen because he uses them. He uses all things for good. You know, he can use them to teach us. He can use them to fix us. He can use them for our eternal salvation. So when we go complaining about the difficulties we have, which is so easy to do in life, isn't it? You know, that is actually resisting our crosses, and we are told in the Bible to pick up our crosses and follow Jesus. So we need to be accepting our crosses. Sometimes it is very tough. Sometimes we feel like we can't go through anything else. You know, you may be watching and feel, I'm going through so much suffering, I feel like it's bigger than me, I can't do this. And I've been there myself. You know, you feel like I've been through A, B and C and I really can't take this next thing. I've just got through something, I can't take this new thing. But the Lord only lets you go through what you can bear. He never gives you more than you can bear, and that's because we have him. It's not through our own human strength that we can get through these things. It's because we have his grace. And that's what we can rely on to get through our trials and pick up our crosses and accept them. And it's when we accept them that we experience blessings. You know, it may not feel like it, it may not look like it, but when we accept our crosses, that's when we become closer to God. We learn to rely on him and our spiritual lives are transformed. And that's when we get a breakthrough. You know, it's not to say that we can't pray for healing. It's not to say that the Lord doesn't heal, because he definitely does heal. You know, there are miracles, there are healings still today, and we can still pray for healings. But sometimes the Lord is allowing that suffering to happen. So we need discernment in this area. And he may not be allowing it to happen forever. You know, you may not have that cross, that suffering forever. It just may be for a time. But the Lord is using that suffering in the meantime, before you get your healing, before that thing that you've been praying for comes along. He can use the suffering that you go through in the meantime. You know, you might be watching and you think, well, I've been looking for a job, for example, for a really long time. I'm having no breakthrough. It's not to say that you won't get a job. You know, if you're praying for it, it's not to say that the Lord won't answer that prayer. But in the meantime, you can offer up your sufferings to him. He can use those sufferings. When we unite our sufferings to him, he can use them for others. And he can use them to refine us and purify us and bring him closer to us. So it's not to say that prayer won't be answered. You know, speaking of my own life, I've definitely, you know, been on a long journey, let's put it that way. If you've not seen my channel before, I have a 10-year-old or nearly 10-year-old son who's profoundly disabled, and he became very unwell as a baby and developed brain damage, and now he can't walk or talk or do anything for himself. And it's been extremely tough, and it was very heartbreaking, very difficult when it first happened. and still is, if I'm honest. You know, the emotional burden is very big, and it's heavy and it's uncomfortable. You know, it's a cross, definitely, that we've been given. But for many years, I really resisted it. Obviously, I didn't want it. Understandably, I suppose, I really didn't want it, and I couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept that the Lord was allowing this to happen. He was allowing this suffering to happen in our family. But eventually, you know, after years of resisting it and looking on it as a curse, I then realised that the Lord was allowing it to happen, and He was bringing something beautiful out of it, and He was blessing me and my family through the hardship that we've been through. He's actually used it to change us. He's used it to bless us and transform us and bring us closer to Him. And the situation has brought great breakthrough in my life, for example, you know, in terms of my life calling, what the Lord wants me to do, how to serve Him in my life. You know, I've had breakthrough in that area, and He's given us peace. You know, He's really used it to teach us a lot. So we are eventually able, when we accept our crosses, we are able to thank Jesus for what He's doing. We're able to thank Him for our crosses and what He's using them for. You know, He's using them to fix us. He's using them to purify us, whatever it is, you know, using us to bring us closer to Him. As He has with me and my family, He's used the cross we've been given to transform our spiritual lives. So He can do that for you too, because we all have crosses to bear. You know, we all have different ones to bear, and it's not easy, and we need His grace. You know, you might sort of think, well, I can't carry on, this is too difficult. But if you just call on Him, and He will give you more grace, you know, through the sacraments, for example, going to Mass, going to confession, you know, the grace we receive from the sacraments is enough for us to carry on and bear our crosses. So I hope that video has blessed and encouraged you today. Please do take a moment to share and like the video with anyone who comes to mind when you're watching it, who you think might like to see it. So thank you for watching today. I pray you have a blessed day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. So until then, God bless. Bye.